Welcome back after the lunch break, everyone. And we're in time now for our afternoon session. So, the gender imbalance in leadership positions in academia is a topic that has been discussed extensively in the last years. And our speaker, Nicole Amberg, will present the STEM Fatale initiative, a platform for female researchers that aims to promote gender equality in leadership positions in STEM. Nicole has graduated in molecular biology and zoology at the University of Vienna, where she also received her PhD in stem cell biology in the context of inflammation. Since 2016, she is a postdoctoral researcher at the Institute for Science and Technology in Vienna and focuses on the function of epigenetics in cerebral cortex development. Together with colleagues, she founded the STEM Fatale initiative in 2020. In addition to building up a networking platform for female scientists, the STEM Fatale initiative employs data driven, evidence based approaches to come up with concrete measures to increase the overall career progression of women. We also have Melissa, Nicole's colleague, joining us today. So we have two experts helping us navigate through this, and we're very excited to have you join us and look forward to your talk. Over to you, Nicole.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for the invitation to this great conference. It was a pleasure so far. And yeah, so everybody please enter the full screen mode if you want, because I will keep my screen a little smaller to keep the overview. And yeah, let me quickly guide you through my academic trajectory so you know a little bit about myself. So as it was already mentioned, I studied molecular biology and zoology. I admit I was a horrible zoologist, so I'm much more safe in a lab than out there in the fields collecting insects. So yeah, that's why I proceeded in a lab with my PhD at the Medical University of Vienna. And then I also took the opportunity of kind of an exchange program within my PhD program. So I was a visiting researcher in Brussels in an amazing lab, and I can recommend it to every one of you. If you have the possibilities to visit a collaborator, please do it. It will just be an amazing time for you. And yeah, so I was always more into immunology and skin stem cells, but then for my postdoc, I decided I want to challenge myself. I want to move to something completely different. And so I moved to neuroscience, and now I'm investigating the role of epigenetics in the cerebral cortex at IST Austria, which is also a great place. So if you think of performing a postdoc after your PhD, maybe check out the IST website. And yeah, for my future, I'm envisioning to stay in academia. It's kind of a short-term goal for the next 10, 15 years. I would like to progress to a PI position. And after that, as a long-term goal, I could also imagine to become institute head and contribute even more to shaping the environment of the future generation of scientists. But speaking about this, challenging myself with the question, what is the next step I want to take in my career? Being a woman, it's, easily you stumble about the leaky pipeline. So you have a quite high number of women participating in undergrad studies or in studies, in the graduate studies, maybe even in the postdoc level. But then when it comes to leadership positions, you have this drastic drop in the participation of women in higher job levels. So you can ask yourselves many questions why that is. It seems that a lot of that is correlating to being underrepresented in the application processes. So when we look at these graphs from a study taken in Austria at all universities, you can see that applications from women for professorship positions make up not even like 20% of the total applicant numbers. And then obviously it's pure mathematics. If you have a small proportion of women applying initially, then you will probably also have a small proportion progressing to the higher job level. So that made us wonder what contributes to this low application rate of women and what can we do about it? And at this point, I would really like to quote a friend and also another co-founder of the STEM Fatale initiative. She said it in German, that's why I put the original quote, but I also have an English translation for you. She said, we should not just sit and complain, we have to do something. So we did something, and we started in April and May of last year, the four of us, where, as you can see in this little picture, it was myself, Lisa, Then we have Melissa and Angela. I think myself, Lisa, and Melissa, we are all life scientists. Angela is a mathematician. And we kind of made use of the first lockdown and the COVID time to, suddenly being challenged with a lot of free lifetime besides doing home office. So we really took that time and developed a concept to support women in STEM to progress to leadership positions, to provide a supporting network, and potentially even mentoring. And for this concept, we were even awarded with a prize, with the so-called Wissenschaft Zukunft Award of the state of Lower Austria. And shortly after we were awarded, we launched our website, because due to COVID, we couldn't do much else than running a website. We were then also, a lot of people approached us. Ever since that, we have 2 new team members. One is Aglaya, an immunologist, and the other one, which what I think is really great, is actually a man colleague. It's Moshtaba. He is more into super resolution microscopy and supporting our team to get even more broad on the diversity topic, because I think it's something where you can't just sit together with women. You have to be men, women, diverse people of all backgrounds, and then come together and work on the problem. But we felt, okay, we need to start somewhere. Maybe we should start small. And we thought, okay, we start with like 3 pillars. The first one would be a survey to collect data. A second one would be to provide networking opportunities. And the third one, to set up a mentoring program, all to make more progress towards gender equality in STEM. And I would like to show you just a few overview slides of our survey, because since we are scientists, our profession is actually to collect data, to analyze it, and then interpret it and publish it. And that's exactly what we aim to do. We are going to determine a number of factors that would impact women's careers in STEM, both on the positive and the negative side. And so this survey is online since almost a year. We are almost hitting now 300 participants, like women only. I'm sorry for now. I think a man-only survey will come soon. And so far we have participants of all STEM disciplines, of all career stages and age groups. And we will probably close the survey by end of September. So if this is a topic close to your heart, please participate. It takes about 20 minutes. And it would really help us to get more evidence-based data and help us to make more progress. So some of the questions we ask, I really just show a few slides on this. For example, we ask, what is your long-term goal? Would it be in academia? Would it be like a professorship? You want to be a staff scientist? Is it outside academia? Or do you just not know by now? What is your future goal? And then we are also interested, okay, if you would aim for a leadership position, why is that? And we find that the 2 most important points why women want to progress to a leadership position is because they have a lot of enthusiasm for mentorship and leadership, and that they also want to contribute shaping the scientific environment of the next generation. And reasons why people do not want to proceed with a leadership position, at least in academia, is fear of financial uncertainties, which is certain that this is a challenging factor. And then the second highest answer that was quite surprising to us is that there is too high self-doubt or self-criticism. And we think this is potentially a factor that could come from society as a whole and stereotypes. And we would hope that we can also get more insights on this in the future. Also, when we ask who should support you stronger to aspire a leadership position, besides the institution or the workplace, again, the women would answer, I myself need to support myself stronger. And that also correlates with the degree of self-doubt we are asking them to rate themselves on. So the peak is kind of very high, kind of confirming that the self-criticism and the self-doubt are kind of negative factors for career progression towards leadership. And since we are wondering where could this come from, We also ask a number of questions about liberties in the country of origin, but maybe also in the country of the current workplace or in the workplace directly. So we would ask for liberties according to the law. It seems like the people participating come from countries where there is a highly liberal law system. However, the societal mindset is lacking behind, and so is the mindset of the society in seeing women as leaders, because that's still in like an intermediate state. And yeah, from a number of other questions, we are then trying to group our deducted measures, what can be improved to support women to aspire a leadership position, into kind of 3 groups. One would be the institutional levels. What can research institutions do to create a better environment for the women? There could be personal or structural factors or groups, which could basically be implemented by policymakers, for example, but also by institutions, by providing opportunities for networking or mentoring. And then there is a number of other societal, educational, and political issues that clearly have to be addressed by the politicians. And I mean, we don't only want to publish the survey results in the end in a peer-reviewed journal, we also want to write a policy note and make clear suggestions to politicians and other decision makers in how to improve the situation to make more progress towards equality in STEM. And yeah, let me summarize a couple of successes we made already since 1.5 years that we are kind of actively working on the STEM Fatale initiative. We were awarded with this Wissenschaftszukunfts Award last year. The concept has meanwhile also become an integral part of our institute's official diversity and inclusion measures, which is also great for us, so we can see a direct impact in our direct working environment. We have already received support from members of parliament and the Austrian Federal Minister for Women, Families and Youth, which is also a great sign for us that what we do kind of goes to the right direction. We have already established a collaboration with ECO Austria, so they will help us with the rigorous analysis of the survey data, and they will also support us to write the publication and the policy note. We receive a number of invitations for talks like today, which is also great, so we can spread our enthusiasm and our message, hopefully. What is still yet to come is budget, because the STEM Fatale initiative started in our institute at IST Austria, but we felt, why should we have something beneficial for women in STEM only in this institute? Why don't we have it beyond, make it bigger, make it accessible for everyone who wants to access it? So we decided the STEM Fatale initiative should be institution independent, which is cool, but being independent also means you are money independent, which means we have 0 money. So we have to apply for public budgets at funding agencies, and then depending on receiving budgets and also the development of the pandemic, we hope to be able to offer networking events and dedicated workshops in the near future. And we are also establishing a one-on-one mentoring program that should hopefully start this year in the winter, where, like a early career woman researcher and a more senior career researcher can be matched one-on-one, and then in the cycle of a couple of months up to a year can meet every 1 or 2 months and discuss the career progression of the early career researcher, maybe provide feedback or just, exchange personal experiences and stories and help to navigate the young researcher through the career trajectory. All right, and so one way how to get budget in our case was to found an association which has the very generic but yet complicated name, Association Supporting Leadership Culture in the Disciplines Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics, or like in German short, VFF MINT. So now with this, we have a legal entity that is eligible to apply for funding. Yeah, and so with this association, we now hope to acquire budget to be able to run all of our planned activities. And since this is now the career fair, you might be thinking, okay, why could activities like STEM Fatale or this association be beneficial for my career? Well, I think one big aspect is that if you contribute to activities like this, you can shape the working environment of tomorrow. You can shape it towards diversity and equality. And you don't only do this in academia, I think you also do it for society, because academia, for me at least, is always like a leading example for society. Academia should make the most progress, and I think here we really should lead by example. This would also help you to grow a network, because you can get in touch with a lot of senior scientists, asking them if they would want to participate in the mentorship program, all kinds of things like that. You would also get the opportunity to practice leadership, because as you have seen within the initiative, we have a number of activities. So each activity, I think it's best if you distribute the tasks. So we have different project leaders for different tasks within the STEM Fatale initiative. So now with this, you could practice and enhance your skills in communication, teamwork, empathy, being a very responsible and trustworthy person, in organizing and planning, showing commitment, being flexible, because usually whatever you plan, something unexpected is happening, then you need to be flexible, find a solution. It's a bit like in a lab, right? So I think if you have a setting like this where you can just practice it without causing any kind of, let's say, damage, I think it's very nice to also get maybe more confident in yourself. Can I really be a good leader? And I think it could also be a nice opportunity to practice alternative career options, because maybe you find out with such activities that you really like communication. Maybe you like to go more towards journalism. Maybe you like to proceed more towards a diversity officer in institutions, and by that shape gender equality in the future. Maybe you could even progress to politics and make it your thing, or you feel like you want to go more to education. And I think this is also a very nice opportunity without really quitting your job and trying out many different professional things, that you can just try them out in such a setting. And if I have time, let me just quickly show you the activities of this association that we founded. So one I already talked about, it's the STEM Fatale initiative. And recently we also started an additional activity. It's called Wissenschafts. I'm sorry, this wordplay just works in German. It kind of means knowledge wins, or something like that. And we wanted to be a science edutainment platform. So for that, we are now producing short explanatory videos on basic science principles. A prototype is already online on YouTube. We are also writing a children's book, and we eventually want to produce on-demand videos for school book publishers to make the learning and teaching experience in the schools a little more attractive and interactive. And if you want to get in touch with us and learn more about what we do or participate in the survey, you can take a screenshot of that slide, or I think the talk should be then online as well. So we have a website and several social media accounts for the STEM Fatale initiative, as well as for Wissenschafts. Also, our association has its own website. I think if you just go to the association website, that will also lead you to the STEM Fatale initiative and the Wissenschafts website, and then you can get more information. Really, please participate in the survey if you have 20 minutes time. That would be really, really great. And yes, if you want to get in touch with me personally and just, want to find out more about how to run this next to your professional life in the lab, how to progress from the PhD to the postdoc to a completely different field, whatever comes to your mind, just feel free to get in touch with me or with Melissa. You also find us on the IST website. And thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Melissa. This was a lovely talk, and we've already linked your survey in our chat, so we hope more people participate.
Thank
And
you.
we have a bunch of questions. I wanted to start with the Q&A. So, regarding your survey, what was the most unexpected response you got? Like a question that you gave in and you did not expect a response, but that was like the majority response.
I mean, at least myself, I did not expect so much self-criticism and self-doubt in the women. I mean, I personally I grew up in a small Catholic village in Germany. So I mean, there women are not the typical leaders, and I thought, okay, maybe then people like me would potentially have a little more self-doubt, but also not so much on the level 4 side, so maybe somewhere more in the middle. And then I was completely surprised to see so much self-doubt in the women. And now I think we are all dying to know, how would men rate themselves? I mean, are we just thinking that men would be more self-confident, or is it just like a natural rating that people give
Yeah,
to themselves, that we, like in science, maybe we all tend to underrate our own capabilities somehow, right? Because we are so much trained to critical thinking that we maybe also overdo it on ourselves. So yeah, I think that was all of that for me was the most intriguing part. Melissa, how was it for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's. Can you hear me okay?
yes,
Okay. I would agree with you that that's probably the most surprising thing. However, when I look at myself, I think I'm sure that I clicked that exact answer. I think the other things that I was sort of expecting to be bigger problems were about time management and whatnot for women, especially as a lot of childcare duties, I think, are some of the big issues when it comes to women in STEM. And after talking to many young women who are just becoming professors, and everything they go through, and their advice was really, this is the hard part, is actually managing that aspect of their life while trying to take on so many responsibilities at the same time. So I hope that, in a future survey, we can go a bit more into that, about the time management and how it works out, how people can do a better job with work-life balance, and how institutes can help support that better.
In relation to that answer, do you think that the COVID pandemic actually showed that even in a lot of families that don't conform to traditional gender roles, where both men and women were working, once the pandemic showed up, the the higher brunt of housework just went on women in general, even in families where traditional gender roles are not followed? And do you think that might be something that would have led to women actually falling behind, and might be something we see later in the coming years?
I mean, you see this absolutely. I think Nature has published articles on this showing that women during this time published fewer articles. I mean, if you just go and look this in Nature, you find it exactly. Um, I don't know, Nikki, do you have more to add?
No, I think, yeah, there were a number of statistics and papers on it that clearly showed that more of these classical caretaking duties fell more on the women than on the men. Absolutely.
I mean, this is actually something that happens on average. If you read a book called Invisible Women by Carolyn Criado Perez, I can write it in the chat. Actually, there's a lot of evidence that demonstrates that women in general do 75% of unpaid work. And this is like also taking care of the elderly, not just children. So I would actually be really curious as well to dive into this a bit deeper with both our male and female colleagues to really see, how that's going on in academia, and how
So
that
we have,
might correlate to women's aspirations. Yeah.
thank you. So we have a bunch of questions in the Q&A section. The most voted question is by Sarah. How do you think we can fight for gender equality in our day-to-day lives?
Well, I think if you see something that doesn't appear equal, like if somebody is being treated not correctly, I think we all have to speak up and raise the awareness by this, even if people then think you are the picky bitch and, who is, like, I mean, people always try to talk you down, but I think we just have to ignore this. It's maybe also a thing that women by societal education are more trained to please and to not be ignorant. At least where I come from, that's how the girls are brought up. like you rather copy, you're not loud, you please everybody. And I think we just have to detach from that. But I think it's also something that you have to do proactively. Like you have to watch yourself. And I don't know, I think 2 years ago, I even had a handwritten list of behavior I realized on myself. And then I just tried to spot it in my everyday life and tried to make a little list how often I fall back into this behavior and how often I manage to get rid of it or to just ignore it. So yeah, I think this is what we can do from my perspective.
The next question is from Yulia. She asks, how hard was it to start the actual initiative during a pandemic?
Well, I think in some part it was not hard at all because we suddenly had that time. Because I mean, I was always happy while sitting and drafting a manuscript that from time to time I could just take 1 hour off and focus on something completely different. And then I also enjoyed so much more to go back to my manuscript. And I like more of this jumping back and forth part. Maybe sometimes I should focus more, but who cares? So in that regard, writing the concept, thinking of what we want to offer, establishing this survey, working on the website, that was all kind of beneficial during the pandemic because you could just not go to other events where you would also spend your time. So these 2 or 3 hours a day I would usually spend on networking events or other kind of private events, I suddenly could dedicate those 2 to 3 hours to the initiative. Of course, what is not working at all is establishing networking events because we feel this really needs to be established as in-person meetings. So we just decided from the very beginning we won't have virtual meetings at all for this. Maybe for the mentorship program, because we also have some people who are not living in Austria who would want to participate. Maybe there we would have like a hybrid situation. Yeah. So, but again, it's like science. You have to be flexible and make the most out of it.
Absolutely. The next question is from Mariana. She asks, in the surveys, one of the leading reasons why women don't aim for leadership positions was that they lack belief in their own abilities. What do you think are the main causes for that, and what advice would you give to women who doubt their abilities?
Melissa, do you want to go?
I was going to say, I think a lot of times we view ourselves more negatively than others view us. So I think one positive thing you can do is talk to your colleagues and ask them what they think about your work, how they think about your presentation, these sorts of things, because I think you can really get a big boost of confidence from the people around you. But obviously improving your self-esteem, getting rid of imposter syndrome, which of course scientists it's a sort of a pandemic of its own in academia. Men and women both suffer from this, where you don't think that you belong, you don't think that your work is good enough. And honestly, getting over that, it can take a very long time, but it just takes practice all the time, reminding yourself of what you have achieved. And, asking for support. I think we should never be afraid to go to colleagues and say, I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling lost in my work. Can you help?
Yeah.
Okay. Nicole, would you like to add something?
No, I think that was a perfect summary.
Thank you. We have time for another question. Yes. So Ekaterina asks how to join your mentoring program or subscribe to a newsletter the moment it starts. I think a lot of us would want to know that.
Yeah, check out our website, and there you can subscribe for a newsletter that I am currently responsible for, and it's more in a prototype stage, I think. So, but it will come. So if you subscribe to the newsletter and the mentoring program is about to start, you will definitely receive an email.
Okay, just related to that question, if someone wants to join your initiative or kind of volunteer, do we just reach out to you?
Yeah.
Yes, you can also use the website, social media, write to us a personal email, everything works.
Thank you. And Sarah has a question. Do you have any advice for people who may want to start similar initiatives?
Yeah, just do it. Just go for it and do it. Go get together, throw in a bunch of ideas, work them through, see if they could work out. If not, discard them, come up with a new idea. And then in the end, you just have to try it out. And, sometimes if you organize a small event, maybe it won't be super successful. Like in the lab, the non-successful experiments teach you the most, right? Because then you have to reevaluate. And I think just don't be afraid, just really do it. And I think whenever we had in-person events before the pandemic, I would always see like the spark in the eyes of our participants. And then I knew what all of this was about. It also gave us so much energy back to see that we organized an event that was extremely useful and beneficial for every participant. So it's very rewarding. Just do it.
Thank you. And one last question from Nantara. What kind of grassroots policies would you like to see brought about in the future to support women in STEM?
A lot of them. I think what would be very beneficial for those who are mothers would be to have dedicated time slots, kind of. When do you have faculty meetings? Why would you need to have a faculty meeting at 6 p.m. when you should sit with your child or, provide dinner or check the homework or just have family time, right? I think we just need to rethink our academic schedules a bit. When do we have a lecture? That could also maybe be more in the mornings and not in the evenings, and also streamline some networking events, because if you are a woman and your partner wants you to take more care of the child, then it's a bit hard to go on networking events in the evening or something. Or maybe your partner has a networking event at the very same day, and then you have to take a decision. And I think this is completely unnecessary in these days, that we have to take decisions on that. So that for me would be something that could be implemented extremely fast. It could start tomorrow, basically, if we just rethink the schedules. Melissa, do you have another point to that?
I think one thing we should remember from the pandemic is how, of course, we enjoy in-person activities the most. However, it can be really beneficial to a lot of couples, men and women with kids, in order to still have some opportunities to give lectures online, especially if it requires traveling. So I think we should still keep that option there, especially if, a lot of people, we've seen it even at our own institute, they say yes to a talk and they end up canceling, and it's because of childcare issues. So we're missing out, and it's also affecting those people's careers. So I think we can just be a bit more open on that. And better childcare options. Our institute has a kindergarten on campus, so this is very helpful to people. I'm not sure if all institutes have this or all universities have something that can be that easy.
Thank you so much. And I think we're over our time already. And if you have more questions, please tune into the speed dating, where we also have Nicole joining us, and then you can ask her your questions personally. Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you so much, Melissa. It was really nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then see you all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.